the aircraft no one could touch. For decades, the SR-71 Blackbird existed in a category all its own. It wasn't just faster or higher than every other aircraft. It operated in a realm where interception no longer made sense. Flying above 85,000 feet at more than Mach 3, the Blackbird didn't evade enemy defenses. It simply outpaced the idea of response itself. By the time radar operators confirmed its presence, the aircraft was already hundreds of miles away. The SR-71 carried no weapons. It didn't need them. Its defense was physics, speed, altitude, and energy so extreme that missiles and fighters alike were rendered irrelevant. Surface-to-air missiles could not climb fast enough. Interceptors could not reach its altitude with usable fuel or maneuvering margin. Over decades of operations in some of the most heavily defended airspace on Earth, no SR-71 was ever shot down. It became legendary not because it fought, but because it was never touched. But the Blackbird's invincibility came with strict rules. Sustained Mach 3 flight demanded discipline. Fuel margins were razor-thin. Heat soaked into the airframe, expanding the aircraft as it flew. Turning sharply at those speeds wasted energy and risked failure. The SR-71 didn't roam freely. It followed carefully planned corridors where performance limits were known and survivable. The aircraft was unstoppable, but it was also committed. The weakness no one talked about. Strategic reconnaissance is not improvisational. The SR-71's routes were chosen for sensor coverage, geopolitical boundaries, and fuel recovery options. Over places like the North Sea, those routes changed very little. At Mach 3, unpredictability is expensive, and the Blackbird could not afford it. Speed kept it alive, but planning defined where it could safely fly. That predictability didn't make the SR-71 vulnerable in the traditional sense. No fighter could chase it. No missile could catch it, but predictability created something else, opportunity. If you couldn't go after the aircraft itself, you could aim for where it was going to be. Most air forces saw the Blackbird as something to observe, not engage. Britain thought differently. The Royal Air Force didn't attempt the impossible task of pursuit. Instead, it treated the SR-71 as a moving equation. Speed, heading, altitude, time. Solve the equation correctly, and interception didn't require a chase at all. The fighter built for one thing. The English Electric Lightning was never designed to dogfight at altitude or fly long patrols. It was short-ranged, fuel-hungry, and brutally loud, but it had one quality that no other fighter of its era could match: climb performance. With two vertically stacked engines and enormous thrust, the Lightning could reach extreme altitude faster than almost anything ever built. While most fighters accelerated forward, the Lightning went up. Pilots described it as riding a missile with a cockpit attached. From brake release to near stratospheric altitudes in minutes, sometimes seconds, it converted fuel directly into altitude. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't efficient, but it was unmatched. That climb rate made something possible that shouldn't have been. RAF radar stations could detect the SR-71 far out over the North Sea and calculate its future position. A Lightning would then be scrambled, not to pursue, but to climb vertically toward a precise point in space. Timing had to be perfect. Seconds too early or too late meant failure. There was no margin for correction. The moment that redefined intercept. When the Lightning launched, it didn't race across the sky. It pointed its nose upward and climbed with full afterburner, fuel draining rapidly as the air thinned. The aircraft clawed its way toward its ceiling, engines screaming, pilot focused entirely on timing and altitude. There was no visual target to chase, only a calculated meeting point. And for a few seconds, the impossible happened. The SR-71 Blackbird, streaking through at Mach 3, passed through the same piece of sky as a British fighter. No maneuvers were made, no weapons were fired, no radio calls were exchanged. Two aircraft, operating at the absolute edge of physics, briefly shared the same airspace. This was not a victory over the Blackbird. The Lightning could not escort it. It could not threaten it. It could not follow it. The SR-71 remained completely safe and entirely undefeated. But something important had been proven. Air power is not just about speed or altitude. It is about planning, geometry, and understanding the limits of machines. The SR-71 retired without a single confirmed shootdown against it. Its legend remains intact, but once, quietly and professionally, it wasn't unreachable. Because the most important moments in aviation history don't happen in explosions or dogfights. They happen in silence, high above the clouds, where almost no one notices.